I should not exist in the world. I make it clear to God every night I get retribution for being a part of this world. This filthy world with its sick people. Every day they go back and forth to the cages they built for themselves. They display themselves in popular franchises, latch to their devices, collecting all waves of distorted information. Struggling, surviving. Animals consuming the wide world for survival.
That is a wrap. Martini shot. Cut. I am Michael A. Valerio Jr. This is Stephen Marty, who is my actor in my short film, The Freak. We are filming for our class for directing with Fred Chapa.
So this semester that my students are focusing on a film. They wrote their script, they got characters in it. My expectations is that making sure as a director you understand the message you're trying to communicate and you do the best job you can to get your actors, the camera people, to shoot and act what you're trying to communicate.
It's actually really about learning to direct people. My hardest part of this project was delegating. I'm used to being the cinematographer and the camera guy and the actor and what have you. And you'll always wear multiple hats, but in directing you're supposed to delegate all of those things.
You're always learning. The technology in this business is changing, 3 or 4 times a year. Everything's improving, everything's getting better. So you have to humble yourself and understand that I don't know everything. That's why you work in teams. That's why there's a lot of collaborations on projects, because you want to surround yourself with people that are experts. That's in a nutshell, very, very simple nutshell of what directing is.
I originally started college for business, but as soon as I found out they had a video program here, I decided, I'm gonna take a shot at it, see what it's like. And when I took my first intro to video class, I knew right then I need to switch my major. I needed to.
In the intro to video course, what we do is we put a camera in the hands of students their second day of class. The purpose there is to let them go out and shoot what we call a scavenger hunt so they can figure out what it is they want to do with a camera. This is before we teach them anything about framing and proper focus, proper lighting. And so what we do see is the results of how they envision video shooting. That's our starting point. So in intro, what we have are 2 personal projects that the students will complete. Those are personal tutorials where we provide the footage to them. But we also put them out in the field to shoot what's called a local news story, and in the later part of the semester, a commercial. Now what they're doing is they're taking the production tools out into the field to learn how to shoot a story. But part of that is learning to visualize. How do I need to shoot this story? So we teach them in the classroom how to visualize the story so that they get the appropriate number of shots that they need to help them tell the story, but also the varying angles and the wide and medium and close-up shots that will give them a opportunity to compress time in their edit.
In the cinematography class, I teach a lot about cinematic effects, how to use lenses for depth of field, how to use depth of field calculators, how to use director viewfinders. And so we have a lot of projects where we deal with that because a lot of people go out with a zoom lens and they just zoom it to the focal length they want, they set the iris, they don't care what the depth of field is. But a real cinematographer like Conrad Hall, Road to Perdition, he's always doing stuff with shallow depth of field, deep depth of field, and students never really figured out how to do that, and they learn how to do that in this class.
The DVCP program here covers more than just filming and editing. We also have to learn how to write scripts for film, and that's what the screenwriting class is for. And that is taught by our instructor, Albert Lopez.
Screenwriting, it's a class that deals with not only feature screenwriting, but also short screenplays, as well as some documentary. But the focus is always writing. Writing in general works best when it's done in a collaborative way, in a workshop, face-to-face kind of format. We do what we call table reads, where the students are required to present their ideas. You know, the objective here is to have someone else read aloud your script. And, I encourage the actors in my class to kind of, you know, bust out acting chops and get into the characters they're reading. That way you can hear the dialogue read by someone else, and maybe there's certain things that come out of that that they didn't catch when they wrote the dialogue. I take great pride in what we provide. I know the students are mainly in production classes, but one of the few writing classes, non-production classes I take is mine. So I make it my goal to have them come out of my class feeling like seasoned screenwriters.
Here at DVCP, we are taught a lot about sound. Sound is very important for film. If you can have the best cinematography, best direction, best visuals, best edits, best screenplay, but if your audio is poor quality, if it's out of sync, or if the mood of the music doesn't match the story at all, it ruins the entire experience for the audience, which is why we have our digital sound class taught by Ron Warner and Terry Osborne.
In the class Digital Sound, we use the most used audio program that you'll use in the industry, which is Pro Tools. And they learn how to do, basically, I call it theory, recording, and mixing. They'll learn about the theory of audio. They'll learn how to pick microphones, how to properly record them, and then how to layer with music and sound effects. And we do projects from anywhere from a PSA that would be played on the radio to doing pure sound design with animation, or for a Chamber of Commerce style video. We spend one day on microphones where we talk about the patterns, how they pick up sound. I put them out, I show them to everybody, and we pass them around. I have them set up to the speakers so they can test them all.
The DVCP program offers many electives that are related to the film industry. One of them is 3D modeling and rendering, which is taught by Victoria Sertich. That class gives us a first look at how 3D models are created for animation.
I teach 3D Modeling Rendering 1, which is a introduction to 3D, and we look at the software Maya. We learn how to create a 3D asset from beginning to end, modeling, texturing, and then rendering out our composition. It exposes them to the workflow of 3D so they can communicate better with 3D artists. If they're getting into post-production, it helps them see processes that are similar to that.
One of the final classes that we students take here is production management. In this class, we have to come together as a team and manage the script, the sound, the editing, everything in order to fulfill the director's vision efficiently and correctly. And we have to do all this within a timeline and within a budget.
In a nutshell, production planning is basically what it is. You're managing projects. It's not necessarily just all about making movies, but any kind of production, you have to be organized, and you got to know how do I tackle this script. And that's what I teach in production planning. Is okay, you got the script. Now how do you know it's going to take 3 days to shoot or 2 days to shoot? How do you know you're going to need 4 people or 5 people? How much graphics, how much sound? All those things affect your project. And I do spend a little bit of time going over budgeting, because a production plan is awesome to have, but what that means, especially on the outside world, because I'm very, very sensitive and very eager to make sure my students can operate once they leave school, and which means deadlines, and it means working within a budget. And so we focus on that a lot in production planning.
Here at NVC, we start students in production second day of class. As I've talked to some of my students who've gone on to bigger universities, they usually can't touch the good gear until they're a junior. Here, it could be their second semester. So we get people started very quickly, because we can't just learn from a book. We have to learn by doing. And let's learn with the stuff that's really used in the industry. No handicaps for us.
It's different from bigger universities, because instead of it being a class of like 200 students to one professor, it's like at least more than a dozen. And every one of those students has access to a camera.
And I think throughout all the years, my biggest thing is the technology, the equipment that we're able to use. I think that there's a lot of great equipment here that I would not, under normal circumstances, be able to get my hands on. So it's been just an absolute dream to work with some of this equipment, especially these prime lenses, some of these rigs that we have for the camera, jib, dolly arm, we have a Ronin stabilizer. It's just too much. It's honestly too much.
It's a smorgasbord, man.
It's too much.
This is an applied science degree. You're here to learn how to work after you graduate. It's cheaper than a university, smaller classrooms, more access to equipment. It's common sense. Why wouldn't you enroll here?